Australia's vaccine rollout has been far from perfect. Critics say it's been too slow and created confusion and uncertainty. Well, now some bosses are saying no jab, no job. So what are your rights?
As a business owner, we need the vaccine out there, otherwise the lockdowns will keep happening.
I think it is a race now to get everyone vaccinated. People who don't get vaccinated are putting other people's lives at risk.
I'm encouraging a Team Australia moment with every other corporate out there to help with this vaccine rollout and to reward people that have having the vaccine.
If the health authorities issue a directive, employers and employees must follow it.
I think for a lot of businesses it makes sense.
For Ben Newman, lockdown 4.0 in Melbourne has hit his business hard.
Prior to lockdown, we were incredibly busy, busier than we've ever been. And then, just like that, it's taken away from us.
Ben runs a bar and hospitality company and wants the right to know who of his staff have been vaccinated.
I think for a lot of businesses it makes sense.
He believes it's a safety issue for his business.
We do a lot of events and a lot of our clients would expect us to be able to tell them which of our staff are vaccinated and which aren't.
But what are the rules? Can employers mandate the jab? And what are workers' rights to refuse?
For the protection of the community rather than the individual, so I'm quite firm on it, yes.
I think it should be a personal choice and absolutely, each individual.
Keeps us all safe.
High risk areas, aged care, definitely.
It's not unlawful to mandate it, but mandating it would face some pretty significant problems.
Lawyer Joel Zinger from Gilchrist Connell says in some industries, such as aged care, it may be appropriate to mandate a vaccine, but it would come with hurdles.
It would be very difficult for an employer, even in those industries, to mandate vaccination for staff unless there was a government directive which required mandatory vaccination.
As yet, that hasn't happened, but the Prime Minister today announced it's in the works.
Make no mistake, we are leaning heavily into this as leaders of governments and myself as Prime Minister to see us move towards a mandatory vaccination for aged care workers.
Some states already mandate the flu jab for aged care workers. Now it's likely to be the same for the COVID vaccine.
We have had further advice from the AHPPC, which means that we have tasked the AHPPC to advise us how this can safely be done.
Alliance Airlines is believed to be the first Australian company to mandate the jab for its staff.
You'll see more of that, particularly in businesses like Alliance, who are doing mainly fly-in, fly-out groups.
Graham Turner is the CEO of Flight Centre. He believes if the government can mandate hotel quarantine, it can and should mandate the vaccine.
The government generally, in the longer term, with different variants coming out, probably won't have any choice but to make it mandatory.
As for his own staff, Mr Turner says most people at his head office are already vaccinated.
At the moment we won't mandate it, but I don't think we'll have to.
Isn't it slightly hypocritical that you're asking the government to mandate vaccines when you haven't in your own business?
Yeah, well, it's really up to the government, and I'm encouraging the government to mandate in certain industries.
Qantas hasn't mandated the vaccine for travellers or staff, but did this week announce incentives for customers to get the vaccine come July. That will include flight vouchers, credits, and 10 lucky families will win unlimited travel for 12 months, while Virgin Australia is also expected to announce its incentive program next week. Even if the jab is mandated, people would still potentially have a way out through an exemption process.
Employees don't have to follow employers' directives if it's not a lawful and reasonable direction.
But the process isn't without risk either. A recent case before the Fair Work Commission ruled a childcare centre was right in dismissing a staff member who refused the flu vaccination when the employee couldn't provide a valid exemption.
The employer was found by the Fair Work Commission to have a fair and rigorous process for assessing, examining and approving or disapproving employee exemptions, and the employee, unfortunately for them, couldn't provide any evidence.
For vaccinations to be made mandatory, for aged care workers. That has to be done by public health orders at a state level.
But the sooner everyone is vaccinated, the sooner life could return to normal.
When are you hopeful that the world and travel will return to normal?
We're looking at getting back to our pre-COVID sales levels by the month of June 24, so that's 3 years' time.
Get the jab as quick as possible. Let's get out of this perpetual lockdown so that everyone can have some security in their business.
As it stands, the federal government doesn't know how many workers in aged care have had a COVID jab, but today it announced all aged care facilities will have to report worker vaccinations from June 15th.